recognized that our senior population was growing. We thought that should be expanded. It did. We added 11,000 square feet. Tim, is that right? A total of 25,000. And Kathy Angstead and her staff have increased the number of activities in here substantially. So it is a beehive of activity in this county, and very appreciated, I think, and very admired in the county. The other thing I want to recognize is that Bill Lieber was the one who came up with the idea for this plaque, and he appropriately went to our Senior Citizens Committee, asked for their help, went to our various groups, military support, asked for their help. They did everything. They raised money, they organized the event, and have done an exceptional job. So Bill, I want to thank you for your efforts on this.
Thank you very much. Our next speakers. Linda Lindholm, former mayor, city councilwoman. Robert Ming, former mayor, councilman. And they're both co-chair of the Military Support Committee. It's one of the ones that helped us get the fundraiser going. If I could have you come forward, say a few words.
Thank you all for being here today, and a big thanks, of course, to Bill Lieber and the Senior Citizen Committee who put this together. We're here today because of the veterans. We're here today because of the military and what they give and what their sacrifices are. What their families' sacrifices are, what their children's, what their mothers, and what their fathers. My father was U.S. Air Force, 20 years, retired. So I got to move a lot, see different parts of the country, and see how often, in this case, your dad is gone. In some cases, your wife you don't get to see. In some cases, you don't get to see your child. We had the welcome home just recently. Thank you to the Military Support Committee. You did a fabulous job, just awesome job. Yeah, I could name you, I'm looking at them now and I can name them all, but they know who they are and what they've done. And how great it was for a lot of the fathers to come and see the 2-month-old babies. It was absolutely incredible. So with this, we will be dedicating, and I see many of you who have served. I see Colonel Snyder, I see Colonel Shepard. You know, if I start, I'm going to have to go on. So I won't do that. You know who you are. Thank you to our city manager. Nothing is done in the city without him, without the senior center, without our staff. They do a fabulous job. Recognizing all of you here, thank you for all you've done. Oh, can I mention October 13th? On a happier note, October 13th, please mark your calendars. We're going to have the first ever, Shep, please, what's the name?
It's the Hoorah Anchors Away Hoedown.
This will be a combined event held here. The Wounded Warriors will be recognized, and then we're going to have a lot of fun with a country western band, and all the money raised will be going to the 1-4 and the USS McCluskey. And I would be remiss if I didn't. Gary Capito, would you please stand up and acknowledge one of our other council members?
Thank you, Linda. Wonderful. And yes, I too want to thank all of you who've come to attend and pay tribute to our veterans in the community. I was thinking about this ceremony today, and what we're really doing is saying thanks, remembering and saying thanks to our veterans. And there's probably 2 specific ways that I wanted to say thanks to our veterans. The first one is when you do with excellence what you did when you served, and I know there is no X anything, you're all just not actively serving, or some of you are not actively serving. When you do what you do with precision and excellence, and it makes an impression on people. Let me just elaborate that a little bit. when we recently had a conflict and went into Iraq, and the media was all building up the elite, force that we were going to be up against and all this stuff, and then they ran over them like they didn't even exist, that leaves an impression, and that impression makes us safer. And when our Marines just now came home, they were on a U in the Pacific Rim, and they were working with other countries' military forces, and they were doing joint exercises and joint training programs. And then when they would get out on the field, and they're doing a routine exercise, and the exercise calls for you to take out these 3 paper targets and take over that hill, and they can do it in 2 minutes flat, it makes everyone else look at them and go, wow, I don't want to be there. I don't want to be on the wrong side of those guys, because they do with precision and excellence, and that makes us safer. And they don't have to fire a single shot in live combat to make people know that this is a force to be reckoned with. They do not want to mess with. And that's why we can live in peace and safety here. So I thank you for what you did when you served. And the second thing I thank you for is what you do today, because the veterans that leave the force take with them those senses of duty and honor and responsibility and excellence, and you bring those to our community, and that becomes the bedrock upon which we have our society. So I can't thank you enough for staying engaged in society, staying engaged in our political processes, because those qualities that you learn, that you keep, those are what we live for. So thank you for bringing that. I don't know what we would do without the contributions of our veterans in this city, and you make a tremendous difference each and every day. So thank you for what you do and for what you did. And it's a little tribute, but I love the way it came about. There were so many volunteers, so many active citizens who got engaged in this process and made it happen. It's the right thing to do, and I'm glad we got a chance to do it this morning. So thanks for me.
The submarine veterans of World War II. I'm the first non-World War II submariner to be their president. I live here in Laguna Niguel, spent 20 years in submarines. Hear you talking a lot about the Marine Corps. I lived in over 30 countries, worked in over 30 countries after I retired from the Navy in 2003. Every time there's a problem and we start showing up, people say, where are the Marines? 67 years ago, a bunch of you came back from World War II. Came back to your loved ones, families, a life back here that you were starting all over after you'd freed the world from oppression. We were the last industrial nation standing. The reason that most of us are here today is because of what you did and what the ones that are still there did. In the case of submarines, there are 52 submarines still on internal patrol with 3,700 men on board. 10 of those submarines were lost because of a congressman by the name of May from Kentucky answered a question to the media. Newspaper reporter asking, why aren't the Japanese sinking more of our submarines? Congressman May said, because they're not setting the depth charges deep enough. There's 10 submarines out there with almost 1,000 men on them that are still in internal patrol because he said that. There's a reason why we're called this silent service. I spent my years in submarine and diving and intelligence. This is actually our uniform of the day. But I'm really proud to be here. I'm responsible for one of 2 national submarine memorials. There's one in Barton, Connecticut, and there's one in Seal Beach. I'm responsible for one in Seal Beach. And if you've never been there, I invite you all to come there. And I'm really proud to hear what you've done here for Laguna Niguel and the veterans of World War II. Thank you very much.
I think this is a very special day, and I'm very pleased to see all of you here to recognize our veterans. I'd like to thank you on behalf of the Senior Citizens Committee for the opportunity to pay tribute to all those that serve their country. I especially appreciate the opportunity in light of the recent Memorial Day ceremonies across the country recognizing those who made the ultimate sacrifice. It's also noteworthy that this ceremony is taking place on Flag Day, a day when Americans have an opportunity to remember their loyalty to the nation, reaffirm their belief in liberty and justice, and observe the nation's unity. As a veteran with 30 years of service, I know I proudly speak for the members of the Senior Citizens Committee in saying that this plaque is dedicated to the men and women of Laguna Niguel who proudly serve their country. It acknowledges that those veterans of the city of Laguna Niguel who served in the 5 branches of the military, Air Force, Army, Marine Corps, Navy, and Coast Guard. The phrase, all gave some gave all in the plaque that you will see shortly, says it all and is best summarized in the lyrics authored by Billy Ray Cyrus. Love your country. Live with pride. And don't forget those who died. America, can't you see? All gave some gave all. And some stood through for the red, white, and blue, and some had to fall. And if you ever think of me, think of all those liberties and recall, some gave all. With the committee that first considered the issue of recognizing the contributions of veterans in the community of Laguna Niguel over a year ago, we had a number of proposals and locations for the placement of the plaque to consider. The installation of this military plaque at the Sea Country Senior and Community Center is the culmination of the input and a wide variety of sources within the city. I would like to take a moment to recognize those various sources. I'd like to acknowledge Mayor Pro Tem Joe Brown. I'd like to acknowledge councilpersons Robert Ming and Linda Lindholm. The military support group shown here today in their red shirts. Their input on the design as well as their fundraising efforts were invaluable. I also want to recognize the members of the Senior Citizens Committee. Barbara Perella, Vice Chair. Nancy Hull, who also serves on the Senior Club. Elizabeth Winston. Macom Sabaro. Craig Colley. Ron Langer, who also serves as the chair on the Senior Club. And the gentleman to my right, Rod Langer, who also serves as a chair on the, Bill Lieber, who also serves in the military support group and has been a key player in making this project so important and bringing it to conclusion. Bill, especially, thank you for all your efforts. In conclusion, while this military plaque will never replace all the men and women who we have lost in the wars, conflicts, and peacekeeping missions that this country has been involved in, it will constantly remind us of the service and sacrifice of our veterans. I'd like to close with the famous lines by John Maxwell Edmonds. When you go home, tell them all of us and say, for their tomorrow, we gave our today. On behalf of the Senior Citizens community, we represent the Senior Citizens Committee salutes the service of all our veterans of the city of Laguna Niguel. Thank you very much.
Very good.
And Bill, would you read it?